Thank you for joining me on the channel, Mazarov Tarot. This is just going to be a short intuitive reading. I'm actually out right now. But anywho, I may or may not use male or female pronouns, but you don't have to be a biological man or woman to be in either of the energies. So let's go ahead and get into today's reading. So I actually wanted to talk about a dream that I had because it was so very insightful. It was very, very strange. And it was actually connected to Natalie Nunn. If you don't know who Natalie Nunn is, she's infamous for being a part of the Bad Girls Club. And then she did her own little spin-off for Zeus called Baddies. She was in the dream, but there was a fight between, I wouldn't even call it a fight, but there was an altercation, if you will, between me and Natalie Nunn. So I wanted to go ahead and talk about said dream. The dream started off pleasant, I guess you could say. I was like, I'm going to say I was just in an inner city. It wasn't necessarily New York. I could be talking to someone that is a Pisces. Not necessarily. You could just be a water sign like myself. And it was so very weird because I went into a grocery store, if you will. It wasn't even a grocery store. It was a convenience store. I went into a convenience store. And they were kind of in the process of hiring people, but they already had a slew of people that already worked there. But it wasn't even a busy convenience store, or wasn't busy at that time. But it seemed to maybe get busy as the day went on. But I had got there early, and I came in with a gentleman, a masculine energy, a male, and when I came into that said facility, everybody was kind of setting up their register. And it was so weird because I am at a hospital right now trying to get these images taken, and but they were all maybe registered nurses, but not necessarily. The thing is, they were at the register, all male, female, a lot of girls, a lot of feminine energies, but they were like friends first. They actually put their friendships before they put the job. The thing is, these individual females, Bad Girls Club, whatever, they worked for Natalie or Zeus or Baddies. And it was actually the actual facility, and I don't drink, I'm what you call dry, was a bar. It was a bar. So it made me start thinking of registered nurses, because you nurse your drink, you drink it, sip it, whatever. And they were all on the register. But the thing is, what I was seeing when I had came in with the male, because the male was one of them. Well, he actually just got behind the counter. What I had witnessed is that they put their friendship before the patients, the customers. And they weren't in it for helping. They were only in it for camaraderie of other register workers, other checkout clerks. And they were in it for money. It was a job. And in the situation for the liquor store, it makes me think of the movie Constantine, where the priest, he had came in there, but he had the devil on his shoulder, and the devil on his shoulder was telling him, drink, you need a nurse, you need to nurse. And the masculine energy angel, if you will, he had wings. Red Bull fucking gives you wings, right? He had wings. He was there, and he didn't even help. He didn't do anything in the movie Constantine to help that priest or that masculine energy that was actually in a spiritual physical battle. And he could care less. But it would have been his job. It would have been his spiritual position. It would have been what he had signed up for, to be a registered nurse, to interfere, to help, to be there. And then at the end, that's when that person wanted to show up and look somber, look sad, look concerned. But it was so weird because when I was sitting there at that bar stool school, or at that bar with all these registered nurses, And they weren't willing to help me, and there was nobody there. It was just eye-opening. The thing is, their boss had came in, and their boss was Natalie Nunn, like I said, from Bad Girls Club. And I ended up taking her fucking tongue. I ended up grabbing her by her fucking tongue. And when I had grabbed her by her tongue, I like yanked her and pulled her out of that said facility, because I had had enough. I had had enough of that bad mind frame, that clique, that group. I had had enough. So I felt like if I took out the head, then it would solve the problem. The thing is, it became really chaotic when I had left, because a masculine energy had came, and he had a gun. It was just barbaric in a sense. And it got violent. People got aggressive. It was just really weird, because I just saw all those nurses or all those people at the register at that said bar, and they could give a fuck about me. And I was the only one there. I was the only one truly there that needed to be served. And they literally weren't serving or helping anybody. They were just standing around having conversations with each other behind the scenes, behind the counter. They were just standing there having conversation. And I remember having a conversation with that male briefly. He was one of the registered nurses, but we had came in at the same time. But we came in fighting, if you will. And it was just mind-boggling, because when he would get behind the counter and he had this job, and it was something that I wanted to do, like he was trying to show me or tell me about the position, about, because they were hiring, they needed more. But when I actually saw him in his field, and that he was stuck. One, he was stuck. There was no higher that he could go. There was no movement around the facility. It was like, once you were in that position, you were stuck in that position. Once I saw that, I just remember just being like taken aback, like, whoa, it was a bar. They were only serving liquor. It was very, very strange. But I just thought that I would talk about that briefly, since I am at an emergency room. Let me make sure you guys can't see anything, but since I am at an emergency room. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll probably add more to this said reading once I get back to where I'm staying, and maybe pull some cards. I was hearing some energies or some messages about Aquariuses, Aries, all the A's. And it was about leaving out or something like that. I don't know. I can't recall. But yeah, that's all I got for the moment being. So Godspeed. God bless. Bye.